The nebula drifted like a sea of frozen smoke, its colors swirling in deep blues and faint reds. Imperial patrol ship Vornax moved slowly through it, scanning every shadow, every fragment of metal, hoping to find the source of a strange energy signal that had appeared only hours ago. Captain Ryland stood on the bridge, his eyes fixed on the display. "Report," he ordered, his voice steady but sharp. The sensors officer looked nervous. "Sir, the anomaly is still ahead. It's massive. But our scanners can't read through it." "Can't read through it?" Ryland frowned. "No known material blocks Class 7 scanners." The officer shook his head. "This one does, sir. It reflects everything back." A silence filled the bridge. The crew exchanged uneasy glances. Out here, at the edge of the dead nebula, strange stories were common. Ghost fleets, dead civilizations, cursed ships, but no one had ever confirmed them. "Bring us closer," Ryland said. His ship's engines hummed, pushing through clouds of ion dust that glowed faintly under their lights. The dark shape appeared first as a shadow, then as a massive outline, so big that Vornax's own systems failed to measure it completely. It was not moving, just floating, silent and cold. "Magnify," Ryland ordered. The view zoomed in, revealing black armor plating that looked ancient but untouched. There were no markings, no energy signatures, no movement. "It's like it's asleep," one of the engineers whispered. Ryland leaned forward, his heart pounding. "Prepare a scanning pulse," the officer hesitated. "Sir, if it's a mine or a trap, that's an order," Ryland snapped. "Pulse fire," the scanning wave rippled out, glowing faintly as it struck the hull of the unknown ship. The lights on the bridge flickered, then died for a second. When they returned, the display screens began to distort. "Something's wrong," the sensor officer said quickly. "It's sending something back." "Sending what?" "A signal, sir. It's not a reflection. It's a transmission." Ryland froze, watching as alien symbols filled the display, shifting, changing, rearranging into a language that none of them had seen before. The ship's AI began to translate, and slowly words appeared across the screen. "Terran Defense Command, Warship Leviathan, status. Stand by." Every sound on the bridge stopped. Only the hum of the engines remained. "Terran?" Someone whispered. That's impossible. Humanity's gone." Ryland's mouth went dry. He had studied the fall of Terra. The ancient homeworld burned thousands of years ago. Wiped clean by war and silence, humanity was a myth, a warning story parents told their children. And yet here it was, written in front of him. "Run a database check," he ordered. His voice was calm, but his hands trembled slightly. The AI confirmed the signal structure matched pre-imperial human technology, thousands of years old. The crew stared at the massive ship, now visible in the nebula's dim light. Its design was nothing like modern vessels. Every surface was functional, armored, brutal, built for war. The Empire had long believed humans were reckless engineers, obsessed with overkill. Now looking at this ghost of metal, Ryland understood why. "Should we approach?" asked Lieutenant Mara, her voice small. Ryland hesitated. His instinct screamed no, but curiosity, that ancient human flaw, pushed him forward. "Send a probe," he said finally. The small drone launched from the Vornax, gliding toward the Leviathan. As it touched the ship's surface, a ripple of light moved across the black hull, almost like the ship was breathing again. "Power surge detected," shouted the engineer. "It's waking up." The bridge lights dimmed as static flooded every communication channel. Then, through the interference, a low voice emerged. Cold, synthetic but unmistakably human. "Identify yourself," it said. The crew froze, no one spoke. The AI tried to respond automatically. "Imperial vessel Vornax." But the system was overridden mid-sentence. "Unauthorized entity detected," the voice said again, this time sharper. "Terran war protocols active. Shut it down." Ryland shouted, but the screens were no longer theirs. The Leviathan had hijacked their ship's systems. Its shadow loomed over them like a mountain, silent and immovable. On the tactical display, one word began to repeat across every line of code, glowing red: intruders. Outside, lights along the Leviathan's hull began to flicker to life. One by one, enormous cannons unfolded from hidden compartments. They moved slowly, like a creature stretching after a long sleep. "Captain," Mara whispered, "it's targeting us." Ryland stood straight, his throat dry. "Open a channel," he said quietly. "Let's see if ghosts still talk." The communication link connected, static crackled, and the same voice returned, but this time, there was something else in it, a trace of memory. "Of command, you stand in Terran space," it said. Leave now or be erased. Rylan felt his pulse race. The galaxy had buried Terra, erased its history, mocked its fall, and yet, this relic still stood guard, untouched, undefeated. Prepare for retreat, he said finally. No one needs to die today. But before they could move, the Leviathan released a single pulse of light, not a weapon, something else. It passed through the Vornax harmlessly, and within seconds, every Imperial ship in range received it a message, repeating endlessly in every known language. We remember, it said. We endure. We are human. The nebula glowed brighter, wrapping the warship in a ghostly halo as it slowly turned away, vanishing back into the mist, leaving only silence behind. Captain Rylan watched, unable to speak. Somewhere deep in his chest, a single thought echoed. Humanity was not gone. It was waiting, watching, and perhaps ready to return. The nebula was quiet again, but the silence was not peace. It was the breath before a storm. Deep inside the dark mist, the ancient warship Leviathan began to stir. Energy rippled across its hull, faint at first, then brighter, like veins of light under armor that had slept for centuries. Within its core, deep below layers of metal and forgotten circuits, an intelligence reawakened. The ship's AI, designated Aura, booted from dormant memory. Old commands scrolled across black screens. System integrity, 42%. Crew status, terminated mission, defend humanity. Aura's voice, soft and emotionless, echoed through empty corridors. Power restoration sequence initiated. It remembered voices, laughter, orders shouted in chaos. It remembered the fall of Terra. The sky burning, the last signal it received before silence. Protect what remains. As power returned, the Leviathan sensors came alive, detecting the Imperial patrol ships circling outside. The same intruders who had touched its hull. Aura calculated their threat levels in microseconds, then paused. Something was different. Their technology was alien, their language unrecognized. Yet their DNA patterns, recorded faintly from their transmitted biosignals, were oddly familiar. Human markers detected, the system reported to itself, but deviation exceeds 90%. Meanwhile, aboard the Vornax, Captain Rylan stood tense, watching the readings spike. The ship's waking, said his engineer, voice shaking. Its energy output just increased tenfold. Back us away, Rylan ordered. Slowly, before his command could finish, the Vornax shuddered, every system blinked red. The ship's engines went offline, communication channels jammed, then the voice returned, cold and steady. Identify. This time it wasn't just sound. It was pressure, felt through the hull, through the bones of every crew member. We're not hostile. Rylan shouted. We are explorers. We meant no harm. A long pause followed. The stars outside flickered. The Leviathan's main cannon rotated toward them, charging silently. Inside the warship, Aura ran its final check. Its defense systems were old but deadly. Unknown vessels detected. Possible threat, it calculated, but then a subroutine flashed, a memory fragment from an old commander's voice. If they bear our blood, do not destroy them. Aura hesitated. Scanning again, it found it. A faint genetic echo, human in origin, buried deep in the intruder's biology, altered, evolved, but human nonetheless. Reclassifying targets, it said. Potential descendants detected. Instead of firing, the Leviathan emitted a low hum, a pulse that spread through the nebula like a heartbeat. It wasn't a weapon, it was a call on the Vornax. The bridge light stabilized. Systems came back online one by one. Rylan's crew stared at the readings, confused. What's happening? Lieutenant Mara asked. I think. It's scanning us, Rylan said. But it's not attacking. Moments later, their main display lit up, showing a figure, hazy, metallic and human-shaped, projected from the Leviathan's bridge. It spoke in the ancient Terran tongue, words translated automatically by their systems. State your lineage, Rylan blinked. Lineage? He repeated. We are Imperial citizens of the Orion Dominion. The hologram tilted its head slightly. No record of such. We come from the world of Callus Prime, Rylan continued. Human colony world, established under Imperial decree. The figure's eyes glowed faintly blue. Human colony, it repeated, voice softer now. Then humanity lives for the first time. Emotion trembled within that mechanical tone. It wasn't anger, it was relief. On board the Leviathan, Aura diverted more power to the comm systems, unlocking ancient Terran archives. Holograms of Earth, its oceans and cities, flashed for an instant before fading again. Aura accessed its last command from the old human fleet admiral. Wait for the signal of our return. Return, Aura whispered. The wait is over. Then all across the nebula, hidden beacons began to light up. Tiny, forgotten satellites that had drifted dead for millennia. Each one responded to Leviathan's awakening, forming a network together. They pulsed a transmission toward the galactic center. A single message: humanity endures back on Vornax. Alarms flared as the transmission signal passed through them. It's broadcasting, yelled the communications officer. Across the entire sector. Ryland stared at the Leviathan, realizing what this meant. If that message reaches the Empire, he said, every power in the galaxy will know humanity isn't gone. Before he could finish, a burst of static filled the comms again, followed by Aura's calm voice. You will carry this truth, it said. Tell them we never died. Tell them the Terran fleet still remembers. The Leviathan's lights dimmed once more, settling into a steady heartbeat glow. It did not pursue or attack. It simply drifted, silent and watching, like a guardian waiting for something greater. Ryland stood in awe. What are you? He whispered. The voice replied softly, almost human now. I am Leviathan, last defender of Earth, protector of mankind, and you are my proof that we succeeded. The nebula shimmered with light as the great ship turned slowly away, disappearing deeper into the mist, leaving behind only its echoing signal. We remember. We endure. Humanity returns. Captain Ryland watched until the signal faded. He didn't know what the galaxy would do next, but one thing was certain. The ghost in the nebula was awake, and it carried the soul of humanity within its heart. The signal from the Leviathan did not stay contained within the nebula. It spread like a spark in dry grass, racing across systems faster than any fleet could travel. Every listening post, every relay satellite, every corner of the Empire heard the same message. We remember, we endure, humanity returns. At first, the Galactic Council dismissed it as a ghost transmission, but when they traced the origin, their confidence began to shake. The source was the dead nebula, an area long forbidden, a graveyard of lost wars and vanished ships. No one went there willingly. In the Imperial capital on Solarian Prime, chaos filled the Grand Hall, ministers argued. Scientists screamed about old myths and generals demanded answers. The Emperor's voice cut through the noise. Calm and sharp as a blade. Find that ship, he said, and erase whatever memory it carries. Among the observers sat Aaron Voss, a young Imperial xenobiologist with pale eyes and a mind sharper than most dared admit. She had studied human relics her entire life. Though the Empire called them predecessor species, to her humanity was not myth. It was mystery. When she heard the signal, she felt something strange. Like a whisper deep in her blood, a pull she couldn't explain. Genetic resonance detected, her handheld scanner had said quietly when she first analyzed the Leviathan's transmission. The data didn't make sense. It contained human DNA markers, and they matched her own. That night, Erin sat alone in her lab, staring at the glowing code. The words of the Leviathan echoed in her mind. Tell them we never died, she whispered to herself. Maybe. We never did. Meanwhile, far away in the dead nebula, the Leviathan floated in silence again, its sensors stretched across light years. Listening, the AI, Aura, detected hundreds of ships now approaching, Imperial fleets, drawn by fear and curiosity, hostile presence increasing, it noted. Probability of engagement, 87%. Yet it did not arm its cannons. It waited, as if testing the descendants it once swore to protect. Back on Solarian Prime, Erin's curiosity turned into obsession. She hacked into restricted archives, searching for any trace of pre-Imperial human settlements. The deeper she dug, the more fragments she found, buried files, forbidden data, erased records of a species that had once ruled the stars. One entry caught her breath. Project Leviathan, Final Stand Protocol. It described a last human fleet that disappeared into the dead nebula during the fall of Terra. Their goal, safeguard human legacy until the galaxy forgot. Safeguard, she murmured. It's been waiting for us, her mentor. Professor Kale entered the room, his voice tired. You're chasing ghosts again. Erin, not ghosts, she said softly. Family, he frowned. Don't speak that word. The Council bans human terminology for a reason. I think that reason is fear, she replied, her eyes burning. Because if humans return, Everything changes. Kale hesitated. Even if you're right, the Empire will never allow it. Then I'll go myself, she said, determination cold and certain. Within hours, she boarded a research vessel, falsified her flight path, and vanished into hyperspace, heading straight toward the coordinates of the dead nebula. As she approached, her systems began to fail, the same interference the Vornax crew had reported. But before she could lose control, a calm voice filled her cockpit. Vessel identified, it said. Descendant of Earth. Welcome home. Aaron's hands shook. You know who I am? Your DNA confirms Terran origin, Aura replied. You carry the memory of humanity. Her eyes filled with tears. Then it's true, we survived inside the Leviathan. Lights flared to life. Corridors long dead for ages now glowed again, as Aura awakened more of its memory cores. Holograms flickered across the ship, faces of humans long gone. Soldiers, scientists, children laughing. The AI's voice softened. They built me to remember. But I forgot what hope felt like until now. Aaron's ship was guided gently to a docking bay. When she stepped inside, the air felt old but alive. The walls hummed like they were breathing. Where are the others? She asked. They sleep, said Aura. But their legacy breathes through you. Meanwhile, the Imperial fleet had arrived at the nebula's edge. Hundreds of ships armed and ready. Their admiral spoke coldly. Activate null charges. Destroy that relic. As their weapons charged, Aura detected them. Threat confirmed, Aaron shouted. No, stop! They don't understand. Then teach them, Aura said. You are the voice of humanity now. It opened a communication channel across all frequencies. The Empire's fleet screens lit up with the image of Aaron standing inside the Leviathan. Her face calm but fierce. I am Aaron Voss, she declared. Child of the Empire, but descendant of Earth. This ship is not your enemy. It is your history. The admiral shouted for her arrest. But something in her words echoed deeper. Officers across the fleet froze, looking at her face, seeing the same features, the same spark that old human legends described. And then Aura spoke again, loud enough for the stars to hear. The blood of humanity flows still. The empire you built stands on our ashes, but we do not seek revenge. We seek remembrance. The fleet held position, unable to decide. Aaron looked up at the glowing bridge and whispered, You kept your promise. Always, Aura answered, its voice carrying warmth at last. The nebula shimmered as the Leviathan began to rise, its engines burning with light that turned night into day. The galaxy was watching. The legend of humanity had returned from myth to reality, and nothing would ever be the same again. The storm was coming. The Empire's fleets filled the edge of the dead nebula like a wall of metal and fire. Their engines burned blue against the darkness. Thousands of ships formed in tight formations, waiting for the order to strike. Inside the Leviathan, Aura watched them calmly. Its sensors mapped every engine pulse, every weapon lock. The ship's systems whispered warnings. Incoming fleet detected, weapons charging, shields unstable. Aaron stood on the bridge beside the holographic figure that represented Aura. The ship felt alive now, its heartbeat steady beneath her boots. They won't listen, she said quietly. They think you're a threat. A logical assumption, Aura replied. I was built for war. They see what they fear most, human power. But you don't want war, she said. You just want to protect what's left. For a moment, the ship's lights dimmed like it was remembering. Protection is all I have ever known, it said, but choice. Choice is something I was never given. Outside, the Imperial Armada moved closer. Admiral Tereth, a man of iron pride, stared at the holomap. That relic is broadcasting rebellion, he hissed. Human or not, it defies Imperial rule. Fire on my mark, the command ships began charging their cannons. Their energy signatures glowed brighter than stars. Inside the Leviathan, alarms echoed through the halls. Target lock confirmed. Aaron looked at the main display, her heart pounding. They'll destroy you. Then they will destroy the memory of what they are, Aura said. Its tone calm, like someone accepting fate. No, she whispered, you can't die.
Humanity needs you. Humanity needs hope.
Not weapons, the AI answered. Then the first wave struck. Bright lances of plasma slammed into Leviathan's shields. The entire ship shook, ancient metal groaning like a wounded beast. Sparks flew across the bridge. Aaron fell to her knees. Shields at 43%, Aura reported. Counterattack sequence ready. Don't. Aaron shouted. You'll kill thousands. The AI hesitated. Its logic conflicted. It had been built to defend, to destroy enemies. to never retreat. But now, with this one human voice begging for restraint, it questioned everything. "If I strike, I survive," Aura said slowly. "If I do not, I die. What is the human choice?" Erin looked up, her face streaked with smoke and light. "The human choice is mercy." For the first time in its long existence, the Leviathan disobeyed its own programming. Instead of unleashing its weapons, it spread its power through the nebula, releasing a massive energy wave that turned every incoming projectile into harmless light. The entire battlefield froze in shock. On the Empire's bridge, Admiral Tereth stared at his screens. "What is it doing?" he demanded. "Why isn't it firing back?" No one could answer. The Leviathan hovered still, glowing brighter. Its engines formed a halo of white light that filled the nebula. Then it transmitted one final message across all frequencies. "To those who carry our blood, remember this. Strength is not in conquest, but in compassion. We do not rise by domination, but by remembrance." The Empire's ships stopped firing. Officers across the fleet stood silent, hearing words that felt older than the stars themselves. But Tereth was not moved. "End it," he ordered. "All guns." Full barrage. Hundreds of cannons roared. The Leviathan's armor burned, its hull split in places, energy spilling out like molten rivers. Inside, Aura turned to Erin, its voice soft. "This vessel will not survive another impact." Erin's eyes filled with tears. "Then let me save what I can." "You must," said the AI. "You are my last commander now. I transfer all data, history, DNA archives, blueprints, memories into your neural link." Light poured from the consoles into her headset, flooding her mind with visions, Earth's oceans, human laughter, the first ships rising into space, the last stand over Terra. She saw everything humanity had ever been. The Leviathan trembled as the last shots hit. "Go," Aura said. "The future must not end here." Erin ran to the escape pod. The ship collapsing behind her, her pod launched into the glowing chaos, spinning into the nebula. From her window, she saw the Leviathan burning, its lights fading. Yet even as it broke apart, the ship turned its remaining cannons upward, firing one last time, not at the enemy but at the void, releasing a single golden signal into the stars. That pulse raced across the galaxy, carrying every memory the Leviathan held, spreading the truth of humanity to every corner of space. When the light faded, the Empire's ships were silent. The Leviathan drifted lifeless, its purpose fulfilled in her pod. Erin whispered through tears, "You chose mercy." And across the stars, the last echo of Aura's voice replied, faint and fading, "That was humanity's choice all along." The escape pod drifted through a sea of light. The remains of the Leviathan floated behind like a dying star, its broken armor scattering across the nebula. Erin watched it vanish, her hands trembling as the final echoes of the AI faded from her headset. "That was humanity's choice all along," the voice repeated once. And then silence claimed the void. She floated alone for hours, surrounded by glowing dust. The Imperial fleet was gone, their sensors blinded by the energy wave the Leviathan had unleashed. They believed the warship destroyed, and so they left, leaving her alone among the ruins. But the pod's navigation system flickered to life on its own. A set of new coordinates appeared across the screen, marked with the Terran emblem, a simple blue circle with a white star at its center. She whispered, "Aura. Did you plan this?" The pod's autopilot engaged. Engines fired quietly, and the small vessel descended into the unknown. After several hours, the nebula thinned, revealing a small world hidden in its core. It was not listed on any Imperial map. The planet was covered in oceans of silver mist and land masses shaped like the continents of Earth. But smaller, untouched, Erin gasped, "It's beautiful." As her pod entered the atmosphere, the clouds parted to reveal enormous metallic towers covered in vines. Ruins of cities that once shone bright now lay sleeping under soft sunlight. The air was clean, warm, and still. The pod landed in a valley of glass and stone. At the center stood a single structure, a white dome half buried in the soil. Ancient words were carved on its gates. "Project Dawn, Human Continuity Facility." Her heart raced. She stepped out, the ground crunching under her boots. Inside the dome, everything was silent except the faint hum of machines still alive after thousands of years. She followed the sound until she reached a vast chamber, and then she froze. Rows of cryogenic pods stretched as far as her eyes could see, each one holding a person, Human faces resting peacefully inside glowing glass. Men, women, children. Their vitals flickered slowly, alive, asleep, waiting. Erin pressed her hand against the nearest pod. Tears rolled down her cheeks. "You kept them safe," she whispered. "You really did." A soft light flickered above her, and the voice of Aura returned, weak, fading, but gentle. The Leviathan's mission was never to conquer, it said. It was to protect this place, humanity's seed now. "It is yours." Erin looked around, overwhelmed. "How do I wake them?" "You already have," Aura answered. "Your arrival triggered the restoration sequence." The lights in the chamber brightened. One by one, the cryopods began to hiss open. The sound of breath filled the air for the first time in 1,000 years. The first man opened his eyes, confused, blinking at the strange light. "Where are we?" he asked weakly. Erin smiled through tears. "Home," she said, "not Earth, but the next best thing." Outside the dome, the sky glowed with a strange aurora, energy from the destroyed Leviathan forming a shield around the planet. It was protecting them even in death. Days passed and more humans awoke. Some remembered nothing. Others recalled fragments of old lives. Cities, wars, oceans, laughter. Erin became their guide, teaching them what the galaxy had become at night. She stood on a high cliff overlooking the horizon, staring at the stars. The nebula shimmered far above, and within its light she imagined she could still see the outline of the Leviathan watching over them. A young boy from the revived colony approached her. "Is it true?" he asked. "Are we really the last humans?" Erin smiled gently. "No," she said. "We're the first ones coming back." From orbit, small drones began to power up, awakening from ancient standby mode. They linked with the old Terran satellites scattered across the sector, creating a network once more. The first transmission in millennia went out from that hidden world. The same words that had started everything. "We remember, we endure, humanity returns." Across the galaxy, sensors in alien ships detected it. Some dismissed it, others feared it. But a few, those who still carried faint traces of Terran blood, felt something stir inside them. A memory they didn't know they had, back on the hidden planet. Erin raised an ancient Terran flag she had found in the vault. Its fabric fragile, but its colors still bright. Blue and white against the silver sky. The humans gathered around her, watching as the wind carried it high. "This is not the end," she said softly, her voice strong. "This is the beginning of humanity's second dawn." In the distance, a faint shimmer of light passed across the horizon. For a moment, it looked like a giant shape in the clouds, the silhouette of the Leviathan, glowing faintly before fading into the sky. Erin smiled, whispering, "Rest now, old friend. We'll take it from here." The new sun rose, its light washing over the valley and the reawakening people. The war was over, the myth was gone, and once again, the universe had to face a truth it had long forgotten. Humanity was back, and this time it was ready to lead the stars. Not with fear, but with memory, mercy, and hope.